We are live. Today is Tuesday, May 10th. I am Adam Martin. This is Big Marcel. This is the MMAOB Daily Podcast. How's it going, Marcel? What's going on, man?
Everything good, man. As always, same as yesterday. Looking forward to to preview the card UFC Vegas 54 with you for Saturday, late Saturday night, actually Sunday morning over here.
Yeah.
But looking forward to it. Kind of a small card as normally, only 11 fights. But hey, man, I mean, no worries. We can handle it,
What do you think about that? Because really, there was only 10 fights, and they rebooked the Taira Candelario fight. We'll talk about in a few minutes. But like, it's kind of weird that last week's 15 and now we're down to 11, right? Like, don't you wish it was more like 12, maybe, like evenly distributed?
You know what it is, Adam? I also feel like the UFC should be more booking locations for fight nights as well,
Right.
We are now, there are more possibilities now with COVID, not as big anymore as it was like a year ago, and they're going to Austin. We know that in June,
Right.
but I think the July 9th and July 16th are still in the Apex, for example.
Right.
So I feel like, come on, guys. There are so many people, so many fans, and just let's say just in the US. In the US, where you can go, where people want to go, where people want to see events live. And you don't even have to go international yet. You go to England, it's good. You probably go to Paris in September.
Right.
And obviously you're waiting for a pay-per-view event or fight night in Canada,
I think we're getting a pay-per-view. I'm pretty sure we're going to get a big pay-per-view. Every time they come to Toronto, it's been a pay-per-view. So
yeah, it's beautiful.
I can't wait to go, man. I'm probably just going to go as a fan, too. Like, I wouldn't even want to go as media, I don't think. I'd rather just go and enjoy the show, honestly. I don't have to go as media, so.
The thing is, I was with MMA DNA and I think UFC Netherlands before. That was unofficial UFC thing. And we also were as media, but I wasn't as media there. Other guys were as media. I was just as a fan there. And I think, media is fun to do.
Both good.
But but fun experience with your friends, drinking something.
That's what I'm saying, because we haven't seen it in years. I've been talking to a few of my buddies, and we might all just go together. So I'll let you guys know, but like, I'm going for sure. And if there's other people from Toronto that like listen to the show, like, I'd love to meet up with people, talk about the fights. Anyways,
yeah.
Let's get some comments here before we start the podcast, the breakdowns. We got Oddsmoker Steve. What's going on, man? Let's go. Love the work you guys put in. Excited for the show, man. Appreciate that.
Thanks,
See, that's what we do it, right, Marcel? For the stuff like that, right?
Bro, you should be vlogging, man, if you're going to Toronto.
We'll see what happens, man. We'll see. It's a few months from now. Who let dogs? What's up, Lonnie? Glenn's here. What's going on, man? Joe's here. All the regulars. I love it. What's up, Southpaw? You Canadian too? That's awesome, man. Tristan, what's going on, man? Where do you work, Tristan? What do you do for work, buddy? I know you're in BC. Your time zone's different. What do you do for work, man? Anyways, so we're gonna break down UFC Vegas 54, Marcel, and then we'll be doing we'll do I know someone's gonna say, are you guys gonna do Bellator? We'll do it, but for sure. Quick picks at the end of the show. But we do want to get through these 11 fights and give them their due. I love doing the Tuesday podcast with you, Marcel. It's like one of my favorite things all week. Great. So I really look forward to it. Every time I leave my office on Tuesday night, I feel kind of sad, honestly, because I really enjoy this hour and 50 minutes we do with you guys. I really do enjoy it that much. So anyways, let's get into it, guys. We're going to start off with the first fight of the night. We have a middleweight fight here, Marcel. Andre Petrovski and Nick Maximov. Kind of a weird fight to open the card, in my opinion. I'm very surprised because Nick was in the co-main event. I know the fight was kind of boring, but a little surprised they put him the first fight of the night. Having said that, he is the biggest favorite in the card right now, Marcel. He's minus 390 favorite here, and Petrovski plus 320. So give me your thoughts on this too, my friend. And who do you think wins this fight?
Yeah, actually, it's funny, because this fight was supposed to be right before the co-main event. And when they shuffled the card again, it was the opening prelims. So really weird. Both guys haven't lost in the UFC so far. Maximov and that last fight against Puna Soriano, I think that was a close fight, man. I actually think I scored it for Puna.
I think we both did because he did more damage, quote unquote. Yeah. But Maximov had a lot of takedowns, right? So
and maybe they try to. I saw people saying like maybe they tried to punish Nate Diaz by going at his boy or something to put him that early in the prelims. A possibility, you never know what the tactics of the UFC are. I feel like Maximov is a bad. Listen, Petrovski is a good grappler as well, but I think Maximov is a level above him in the grappling department. Stand up, both not amazing. I think Petrovski might be a little bit better in the stand-up than Maximov, but yeah, I'll favor Maximov, man. I don't think he finishes him, but I think he will probably be dominating again with his wrestling and probably wins a decision here.
Glenn thinks they're punishing him, Maximov, because Nate Diaz, his training partner, turned down I don't know if he's turned out. He says he's accepted the fight now, so who knows? I just think it's because the last fight was boring. That's what I think. I think the fight was not a good fight. I think his performance was really boring. I think the matchmakers are like, come on, man, like you got to do a little bit more. To be honest with you, Marcel, both of his fights in the UFC have not been very exciting.
The first was Brundage, right?
Yeah, that fight wasn't that good either, honestly. He just kind of it was all control time, really.
Yeah.
9 minutes of control time, but only 14 significant strikes. And then the second fight
lost the third round.
Yeah, and then last fight, 8 minutes of control time, and then 29 significant strikes. Again, 11 takedowns, and then 4 before that. So he gets the takedowns. I mean, listen, I think this fight's closer than the odds are indicating too. Mm-hmm. I don't think Maximov should be minus 390. He opened at minus 250, which actually I think is a more reasonable number. Minus 390, I mean, it's getting up there, and it's probably going to get past minus 400 at some point this week. I see some books actually already at that number. Listen, I'm going to pick Maximov like you, Marcel. I think, the guy's got good cardio. I think that, to me, is the difference in this fight is the cardio, because I know listen, Petrovski, everyone calls him a gasser, and really, he hasn't gassed out somehow in the UFC, but I just think it's because the guys he's fought are literally the two worst guys at middleweight. Hugh Yaozong and Michael Gilmore, who got cut recently. I'm not even sure if Hugh Yaozong, is he even the roster anymore, or is he?
I don't think he is.
So both guys have been released. They both are really bad fighters. And he did win those fights, but they weren't necessarily dominant performances. He did have some areas of concern in those fights. I think the guy's decent. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's terrible by any means, but I've seen enough in his fights where I'm a little concerned if he fights a guy with good cardio, like a Nick Maximov, who can really push that pace and push the grappling for 3 rounds. I think it's going to be a more competitive fight than the odds indicate, Marcel. But ultimately, I got to pick Maximov, and I think he grinds out a boring decision again. I think that's what he does here, Marcel. It seems kind of like his game. And listen, the guy's going to win fights, right? He's going to get his win bonus. But if you fight like this is what happens. UFC buries you on the card. And, for me, I'm going to pick him, but I don't know. I'm just not impressed with the guy. I think, he could really help himself here if he gets a finish. I'll say that, Marcel. If he goes out there and gets a submission win or something, that would be good for him. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, man, it's kind of a thing like I had with, what's his name again? Canadian guy who won the Ultimate Fighter. Elias Theodore, right. Yeah. He was at a certain point on main cards, but he was really boring to the UFC, and at a certain moment, they also put him on a prelim, I think, and when he lost, they cut him immediately, I think. They just didn't give him a new contract or whatever. And I think that's the thing what the UFC does. If you are not very entertaining, but you're good in what you do, and you are still having good win streak, but they don't like you, the moment they can cut you after a loss, they will probably cut you. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. But I don't know how much leverage Maximov has here with Nate Diaz in this as his mentor. Thing is, Diaz has only one fight left on his UFC contract, and it seems like the UFC doesn't want to give him a favorable matchup. Doesn't have to give him a favorable matchup, but you know what I mean. Right, it's like they want to keep him, but he doesn't want to sign.
I'm just looking at the comments, and if you guys are going to go on Petrovski, I don't blame you. Honestly, I think the odds are off. I think it's a closer fight. Again, I'm going to stick with Maximov. Marcel, would it shock me? Petrovski wins? Not really, because really what he does, what Maximov does well, Petrovski's also a good grinder, right? I am concerned with the cardio still. I know he hasn't gassed out Marcel, but you've seen glimpses of it, and I still look back at the fight with Brian Battle on Tough, right? So again, the guy's gotten better since then. So I'm looking at Southpaw likes him. Petrovski thinks it's a good pick. What's up, Andrew? He thinks the card placement just UFC just not being very high on him anymore, possibly. Rudy likes the Daniel Gracie. They're all good. All these Philadelphia guys are good, man. I'm telling you. That's why I wouldn't bet on this fight, because I actually Cole interviewed him, and he mentioned that they're 13-0 in the UFC. All these guys from Philly right now. So him, Jeremiah Wells, Pat Sabatini, and there's one other Sean Brady. Yeah, those 4 guys they haven't lost yet.
Yeah,
I think this might be the first. They're not going to win forever. They're going to lose at some point. I think this is going to be the fight, but wouldn't shock me. And I wouldn't want to lay minus 400 against this dude, considering those X factors. So I'm passing, but my pick will be Maximov. And you said decision, Marcel?
Yeah.
That's what I think too. By the way, Joseph was asking about 277. I don't know. We just know that the co-main event probably is going to be Moreno and France.
I think probably Nunez, Spann, yeah.
Yeah. I watched Ultimate Fighter last night, by the way, and man, the talent's very low on the show right now. I gotta say, I don't know if you've been watching them or so.
Yeah, but what did we expect?
No, I know we didn't expect anything more, but like the fight last night was really, really bad in my opinion. It's just not a very low level fight, like an LFA type of fight, like not a UFC caliber fight.
UFC is just fucking stubborn, dude. This was a perfect moment to do the women's atom weights,
Yeah.
Make it a tournament like they did with the strawweights, do it for a belt. Yeah. That's just fucking stubborn, It's just stupid. But again, we can discuss this, but don't want to change anything,
No worries. All right, let's go to the next fight here. It's a fight we talked about not last week, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. Tatsuro Taira against Carlos Candelario. They were about to fight. They both weighed in. Candelario fell ill on the day of the fight, and the fight got canceled, which sucked. Luckily, they were able to rebook it, Marcel. But I got to tell you, man, he was the last guy on the scale that day. He looked like he had a really hard weight cut. And I can't imagine the weight cut's going to be easier for this guy 2 weeks later. Like, I mean, for me, like I was picking Taira. I know you picked Candelario. But I feel even better about Taira because I think cutting weight for Candelario is going to be hard for him to do it twice in 2 weeks, personally. So I don't think we need to break the fight down again necessarily because we already did. But basically, like I think it's a competitive fight. But I'm going to edge the guy who's a lot younger. I think he's 22 compared to 30. Not a huge, like Candelario's not old by any means, but that is a significant difference. And again, undefeated. I talked about him a few weeks ago. I liked what I saw from the guy on the tape. Great grappler, has some power. Candelario matches up decently well, but again, I'm going to stick with my gut. And plus, that second weight cut for this guy doesn't sit well with me necessarily. So, no idea what your thoughts are. If you're going to change your pick, I'm assuming you won't. But are you concerned at all about that second weight cut in 2 weeks?
You don't know me that well. I'm actually surprised. Kind of a bitch move, but I'm going to switch.
There you go.
Because I did a little bit more research on Taira, and I think he looked pretty decent. What I saw, For Candelario, like you said, cutting weight for the second time, they said he had illness, never said exactly what it was, but it seemed kind of like, kind of weird. They didn't say what it was, They said a bit with Cowboy, for example, what was up. They didn't say for Candelario. I feel slightly towards Taira now. So, bitch move, but I'm going to switch to Tatsuro Taira.
Someone asked about the location. Anthony was asking, what's going on, man? For 277, someone said Salt Lake City. That's kind of the rumor, or Dallas. I think were the two.
Yeah, there were more on the board back then, so more options. So
I think Carlos is underrated too, man. But I got the Jays hat. I like the Jays hat, buddy. I think he's underrated, but again, I can't pick him here. Stay away. So I'm Carlos early now switching. I mean, you got a chance to switch now, right? What's up, Cloud? He says thanks for opening cash on that Royal under. No worries, man. I mean,
dude,
it was a good fight for a finish. That's for sure. It ended fast.
I see this guy saying something about her.
No, don't just ignore that.
Sorry. No, okay, but I wanted to say that guy on what was that card on Fury last week? What the hell, man?
What
that dude would say like he had like an. Did you see the clip afterwards? I don't know what's name the guy had. He had a ridiculous interview afterwards. Like he wasn't. How do you say that? He didn't felt fit or something because he had something. A disease or whatever.
Oh
if you guys know, and if you know, you guys in the chat, let me know what it was exactly because I can't remember exactly.
Dixon, I'll try to. Like I could agree with this too. I mean, listen, we talked about the Japanese fighters historically have not done well in the UFC. It's just a fact if you look at the records, and I think a lot of it does have to do with the travel. The fact that this guy has been in Vegas for last week, climating to the time zone, I think it helps him too. So for me, again, it was a hard fight to pick, honestly, because of the odds. I think they're a little bit, lopsided, but I feel like even better about it now than I did 2 weeks ago. So I'm just going to stick with it, and that's what we're going to do here. All right, let's go to the next fight, Marcel. Go ahead.
I sent it to your DM, that clip.
I'll have to check it out later, okay? I'll do it.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next fight here, guys. We have by the way, we got JPH in the chat. What's going on, man? Glad to have you guys here. The more the merrier, right, Marcel? We love having people here in the chat, man. You guys throw your comments out there. I try to get as many as I can. I do a pretty good job multitasking, but sometimes there's a lot of comments. Anyways, let's get to it. The next fight, Virna Jandiroba against Angela Hill. Odds for this one, Marcel. This is a pretty competitive fight. -175 Virna, +155 Angela Hill. What's your thoughts?
So this is actually important. So I asked Virna's manager how to say her name.
Yeah.
So because John Anik always says Virna Jandiroba.
Yeah, I know.
So here it comes.
From where I'm from, we usually say it all. So
Jandiroba.
Yeah.
Again, my fiance is Portuguese, right? So I always ask her how to pronounce it. And, not to say John's,
John's great.
John's great, but I think sometimes the pronunciations are for the Brazilian fighters maybe are a little bit hard, right? But I he's right. Anyways, give me your thoughts on this fight. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, man.
Oh, this is actually a pretty easy one to me, man. I think Virna Jandiroba is a much better fighter than Angela Hill. I think Angela Hill probably has the favor by most of the people, by public. She is very popular. By some people, she's neither. She's not, but she's a really recognizable fighter. And she had some bad luck, man. Let's be honest. In her fight against Lemos, she lost a split decision. I think she won that one. All the other split decisions where she's complaining about, I think those weren't that bad. I think the Lemos fight was pretty clear for her, in my opinion. If you look at Virna Jandiroba, I think she's solid. She doesn't win against girls like Amanda Ribas, but gave her the competitive fight. She was super competitive against Mackenzie Dern as well. It was a super close fight, I remember. Only Esparza pretty much shut her out on the ground, For me, I think Jandiroba is a better fighter overall. I expect her to take the fight to the ground as well. Will she get a submission? I wouldn't be surprised, to be really honest. I'm going to second round submissions for Jandiroba, young man.
There you go. And I want to get this comment. This is a really nice comment. Thanks, buddy. He says it's underrated podcast. I appreciate that. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I see the comments. All right, so I got thoughts on this fight. I got a lot of thoughts about this fight. Okay, so I think this card, honestly, it's pretty chalky. I think a lot of the favorites win. And my initial thought was Virna. Okay, that was my initial thought in this fight. But having said that, I watched her fight again with Ribas, and my God, she gassed out so bad after one round. And she got just picked apart in the feet after that. And that really worries me, Marcel. I got to be honest with you, man. I just think her striking's really rudimentary. She swings wild. It's just not clean striking. Her ground game's obviously better. If she gets it to the ground, she has a very good chance to submit Angela Hill in this fight, especially in the first round. I think that's where Virna would win in the first round by submission. If she doesn't submit her, Marcel, I think she loses the fight. I think that Angela Hill is a live dog in this fight, guys, and I can't believe I'm going to do it. I'm picking Angela Hill by decision. I can't believe it. I never pick Angela Hill. I don't think she's a very good fighter. She has been very profitable for me over the years by betting against her, especially in like a lot of the when she gets elite competition. But I got to say this about her. If you just look at her resume, she's had a lot of really close losses. And if you switch the Lemos fight to her, and almost everyone thought she won that fight, okay? Almost everyone thought she won the Gadela fight. The Waterson fight was competitive. She lost, but it was competitive. I'm just saying, if you give her one of those wins, because right now her best win's Loma Lookboonmi. It's not that great, right? But if you give her one of those wins, Marcel, I think the odds might be the other way around. If just say if Lemos that she won that decision, would she really be plus 155 dog in this fight? I feel this fight is a very close fight, honestly, and I wouldn't be surprised if Virna wins in the first round, but I think that's the only way she wins. I don't think she wins the decision here, guys, because she just gasses out in her fights. Her gas tank's not good. And Ribas was really picking her apart. Ribas is not a striker. That's concerning. That's very concerning to me. I'm not saying Angela's an amazing striker by any means, but she is a decent striker. And in terms of volume, she's landing almost 6 strikes a minute compared to 3 for Virna. That's a big difference. And here's the other thing. Obviously, Virna's ground game's good, right? Her takedowns are great. But, Hill's got almost an 80% takedown defense. I understand, I saw one of my buddies was tweeting about this today, and he mentioned that the fact that the Michelle Waterson fight does skew that number because it was 1 for 18, and that really gives her a much better number. I get that, but, dude, if you look at her career, like, she's very hard to get down and held to the ground. And in almost, 15, 20 UFC fights, she's been tapped out twice by Rose and by Randa Marcos, who I can't believe she lost that fight. I mean, that's a really head scratcher. But Randa will also beat Esparza. She's had some those kind of random wins. I'm not a Hill fan by any means, but I got to look at fights neutrally, and I think she can win this fight. I think she could win a decision here. So it's going to be a very close fight. First round goes to Jandiroba. Third round goes to Hill, and it comes down to whoever wins the second round, Marcel. That's how I look at the fight.
Yeah, I understand. I have a submission. So.
For sure. I definitely think Virna's live for that sub in the first round. Don't blame you guys, because initially that's what I was thinking too. But after looking into it more, doing some more film study on this fight, looking at the takedown defense of Angela Hill, the get-up game, I'm going to pick her to win the fight, man, by decision. She's a dog I don't mind on this card. So I think she can win a decision here. I'm kind of looking at the comments here. Virna by split and maybe, but I think their best chance is by sub, like this guy's saying. That's what I think. I do think she is the value side in this fight. Tristan, I can't believe I'm saying this. Listen, if you guys have heard me do podcasts for like the last 10 years, you know I pick against her almost every fight. I just think it's a winnable fight for her. I really do think Hill should be favored. I mean, I think it's like close to a coin flip personally. Virna by sub, I think it's possible. Virna Beach girl, she can get down. I agree. She can't get Hill down. I think Hill will strike her. So do I. That's what I think.
That's
like
true.
Hill. Yeah, again, 78%. It's good, but again, the watershed fight does skew that number. I will say that. But even with that being said, Claudia only got her down like one time. Marcel struggled to get her down. Good grappler. She's fought some good grapplers in her career, and they've struggled to like hold her down. So I think that if she keeps on the feet, she can win the fight. That's what I think. Hill's only finished once in the last 20 fights. Virna's lost all 3 decisions. Hill by decision. That's what I have. Wow, I can't believe how many people are on Hill right now. I thought I was going to be the only one, Marcel. I was coming here like, okay, guys, it's going to be hostile territory. I'm going to pick Angela Hill, but we'll see what happens. Bet the fight to be a split. I think that's a very good chance of that happening. I mean, Angela, and here's another thing that worries me. Historically, when she goes to the decision, Angela Hill loses a lot of these decisions. That definitely worries me. That's definitely a worry. But again, she's been fighting some really elite competition. Like, I mean, I think it's a fight she can win. They're both in their like mid. Well, Angela's she's 37 compared to 33. They're both older fighters, but yeah. Anyways, that's my thoughts on this one. Don't get Hill lose another split. It's possible. Might be worth breaking this one being split. Possible. I see Southpaw likes Virna. That's fair. Again, that was my initial thought, but I do think Hill's got a really good chance to win this fight, Marcel. So, any more thoughts after hearing my take?
Imagine they go to a decision split for Virna.
It's possible. I mean, Angela Hill's
she'll go crazy.
She's not loved by the judge. I'm just saying, guys, like, I think Angela's, I hate to say it because I'm not a fan of her and her antics, but she's a little underrated, She beat Lemos, Marcel. I think we both thought that, we both thought that. And again, good day. I thought she won that fight too. So you give her one of those wins.
I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that one? That was a very competitive fight.
I think it was super close, and I think Angela was winning until she 1 minute. It was super close the third round, and 1 minute before the third round, she was walking backwards, and Candelario keep coming forward. I think that cost her the fight. Actually,
yeah, fair enough. And I hope that doesn't happen here if I'm going to pick her. But again, my initial lean was Virna, and then I switched after doing more research in the fight. So hopefully it doesn't come to bite me in the ass, because sometimes I overthink it and it goes against me. But I remember there's a lot of times where my initial thought is wrong too. So we'll see what happens, Marcel. I do think the value's on Hill, though. I got to say that. So that's my thoughts on this one. All right, let's get to the next fight here, guys. We have Michael Johnson against Allan Patrick, Marcel. Another kind of head scratcher. Michael Johnson minus 150, Allan Patrick plus 130. So your thoughts on this one, my friend?
Oh man, what a horrible fight to pick. I think if you asked me this 8 years ago, I go for Michael Johnson, but still Allan Patrick still dangerous on the ground. I think he's now training with Charles Oliveira, right, at Shoot the Box. He formerly trained with Jacare.
He also trained at Sanford, where Michael Johnson is. I don't know if you know that, but Johnson, he talked to James Lynch, and he said that they saw each other at the gym like a few months ago, and now they're fighting. So that's kind of funny. Yeah.
I see that. Okay, cool. Yeah. Actually, the thing is, Michael Johnson, he's probably one of the guys where you're like, what if he would have been actually living up to his potential? He has wins over Poirier, he has wins over Ferguson, and he had a win over Ferguson when Ferguson was on a huge streak, remember? Right before that 12-fight win streak. And Allan Patrick, I always thought his ground game was pretty good, but he's also fading in his last fights, and that Mason Jones fight, super stupid, man. Actually, can I pick a draw? No, I'm not going to pick a draw.
You could. If you want to pick a draw, you could.
No, I'm not going to pick a draw. I'm not a bitch. Yeah. I'm picking Michael Johnson, but I'm really not comfortable with picking Michael Johnson at all,
Yeah, so Michael, like I said, I watched James' interview, and basically he's been out for a while. He had some surgeries and stuff like that. He says he's all healed up now. I hope I could believe him. Listen, I'm going to pick Michael Johnson to win this fight, guys, because I do think, overall, he can probably keep the fight standing. And on the feet, I just think he's the better striker. There's no question. But it's really hard to trust this guy. I remember when he fought Stevie Ray a few years ago. I can't believe he lost that fight. You know what I mean? Like, he loses a lot of fights he should win. Remember the Thiago Moises fight? He was like dominating basically, and then he gets caught in ankle lock.
Second round,
yeah, it was so weird, right? So listen, he's fought some pretty good guys throughout his career. Obviously, he has some great wins. I mean, it's insane, right? He's got to win over Poirier by knockout. He's got to win over Barboza. He's got to win over Tony Ferguson. Like, he has some really amazing wins, right? Marcel, it's crazy.
Yeah, remember he knocked down that amazing guy. What's his name again?
Josh Emmett. No, not Josh Emmett. Sorry.
Khabib, dude.
Khabib. Who was it? Madadi? That guy?
No, Khabib. Nurmagomedov. He knocked him down.
When he fought Khabib. Yeah.
He wobbled him. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Marcel. I made a mistake there. Yeah, I mean, that's the point. The point is he's fought elite competition, right, for years, right, Marcel? Like, yeah, he's lost to a lot of them, but he usually is pretty competitive, even in his losses. Alan Patrick, I don't know, man. Stylistically, like, he could win this fight because of the takedowns, right? Right, Marcel? He'd have to get him down to the ground and kind of grind him out, and he's done that, like when he fought Hadzovic, when he fought Stevie Ray. But it was so long ago. It was 4 or 5 years ago. Now he's almost 40 years old, lost 2 straight, and then really he should have lost to Mason Jones. That's the other thing. That fight was really bad because he kind of showed quit, right? Like, he didn't want to fight, Marcel? He just didn't want to be in that cage. I understand he got eye poked, guys. I get it, but let's be honest. Like, he didn't want to be in that fight, And the other fight was the Bobby Green fight. He got taken down in that fight. So
I thought they tried to rebook it, man.
Yeah.
Mason Jones. That makes sense.
Yeah, listen, like, he could win the fight. I would probably pass on this fight just because Michael Johnson's such a flake, guys. Honestly, like, if you bet on him, he might lose, and you're going to be like, why did I bet on him? Trust me. It happened when he fought Stevie Ray. I was like, why did I bet on this guy? I remember that. I'm like, why did I do this? Again, the odds are a little different now. He's only a minus 150 favorite. That's why I do think he's the right side here, but I just don't really trust the guy, Marcel. I'm just going to say that, And also, as much as I love the guys from Sanford, I mean, they've been a little bit up and down lately, so I can't just bank on the fact they're training at that camp. I'm going to pick Michael Johnson. You're going to pick him by decision or by knockout? What are you thinking?
Decision, man. Decision.
Yeah, I'm thinking a decision just kind of outstrikes him. But again, I just have a hard time finding a lot of confidence in Michael Johnson right now.
Same.
I do think he probably wins this fight. He should win this fight. If he loses this fight, he's getting cut, right? There's no way he's getting another fight, right? If loser gets cut, you think, this fight?
I would say, but you never know.
Yep. Let me get these comments. The champion's name is Adam Martin. I wish, man. I wish. Jason, what's up, man? He was talking about the Apex events. He says they're doubling down on expanding seating. It just makes sense for them financially because they don't have to pay money, Marcel, to like host an event. They don't have to fly guys out to some random city. It makes sense. What's going on, buddy? He says he can't trust Johnson. He's gonna go the underdog. I don't blame you, man. Honestly, I don't blame you. I don't blame him. I mean, it might end up being a sharp pick to go on Patrick here, Marcel. It might be, But
I told you, I'm not going to say a name, but you say fly out. So it was a fighter last time for an event. And I'm like, are you fighting this guy or not? And he's like, I guess so. They gave me the hotel info and the flight info, but I still didn't get a contract. So he signed the contract on fight week. So
that's funny. All right, let's go to the next fight here. We got another women's fight. Viviane Araujo against Andrea Lee, and this fight is very close, Marcel. It's a pick'em, minus 110 each. So a pick'em fight, Marcel, the closest fight on the card according to the odds. Your thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, you would think if you saw Andrea Lee fighting last 2 fights, she's a future champ, man, when she fought. I was really impressed against Calvillo, I think, against Cynthia Calvillo. Shevchenko, Antonina, yeah, I don't think she's just that good, I think Andrea Lee beat her. And Araujo, in my opinion, I think Araujo won against Chookagian, man. I still think she won, so she should be on a 3-fight win streak.
I agree with that. And I had money on her, and that one really sucked, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So for me, I also think Araujo is a better fighter overall. I'm having Araujo here for a decision to win the fight.
Yeah, this one's tough, man. I think this fight is really close, and I definitely agree with the odds being this way. I think this is a very, very tough fight to call personally. My initial lean was Araujo as well. And then I switched again, Marcel, after doing a little bit more, research. Really it comes down to Andrea Lee just, I think, unlocking her potential in the last couple of fights. I think she's looked phenomenal. Like, I really do. The fight with Calvillo was, she beat her down. The girl wouldn't even get off the stool at the end of the second round. It was just a beatdown. The fight with Antonina, that was an incredible finish. Now, she did have some close losses there, but more so wrestling-based approach in those losses. I feel like Araujo could win this fight for sure. That's why I wouldn't bet on this fight either. And again, that was kind of what I was leaning. But I do think Andrea's looked phenomenal last couple fights. So I'm kind of banking on her making improvements here and winning a tight decision, but it's not confident. I'm going to say that right now. It's not confident. I see some of you guys taking Araujo. I don't blame you at all. What do you say?
You know what it is, man? Calvillo, sorry. the Calvillo fight looked really good, but I feel like Calvillo shouldn't fight at flyweight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
think
agree with that too.
She got bullied around at flyweight. So
I agree. I will say this though. She lost to Murphy and Wood, but those fights were razor close. Splits. She has one of those wins. Looks better in resume. I'm not super high on Andrea Lee. Someone I don't necessarily pick in her fights either, but it's a slight lean. It's very slight Marcel for me. And again, I was thinking Araujo at first because I like her a lot. Good striker and everything, but she is a little bit smaller in this fight, and Lee's got a little bit of length. And again, I think I've seen the improvement. We'll see. I think Araujo is very good. So I still am pissed at the judges for that fight. With who are the fucking judges in that fight? Chookagian. Let me see who they were.
Saldemado. Let me guess.
Chris Lee, that fucker, Chris Lee, and Jeff Rexroad and Marcos Rosales. I mean, these guys are just. That fight was. Wow, one guy had 327 Chookagian. What a joke. What an absolute joke. The first round clearly was Araujo. That's the thing, Marcel. That's the reason I'm picking her, because Araujo does slow down in her fights. She even slowed down in the fight with Chookagian. I still thought she did enough to win the second round before she slowed down, but she tends to lose the third round of her fights.
You know what I hate, man? Those really like a lazy pick by referee, by judges sometimes, when a fighter wins 10-9 and the second round is closed and they're like, should we go in 1-1 into the third round? You know what I mean? They do that. I think they do that often, even when slightly should be 2-0, but they think, 1-1, it's pretty interesting. And then the other girl who actually didn't want the second round gets the third round, and then she wins the 29-28. It's just stupid.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. This guy likes to fight going the distance. So do I.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. I'm guessing it's mine. Yeah, it's mine. Actually, it's minus 250. That's not horrible. It's usually a lot more than that. So that's not terrible. I thought it'd be a little bit more than that. I think the fight goes the distance too. If anyone gets a finish, it's going to be Lee, I think. Araujo's more of a point fighter. Good fighter though. This is a very close fight, guys. I'm not confident in this pick. And again, initially I was going to lean towards Araujo, but I switched afterwards to Lee after I thought about it a little bit more. Just based on recent performances. Okay, let's get to the main card, Marcel. We start off here with Allan Nascimento against Jake Hadley. Jake Hadley minus 210, Allan Nascimento plus 175. Marcel, here's my question to you before we start the breakdown. Does Jake Hadley make weight? Because his manager's going to go after me on Twitter again if he doesn't.
I think he does.
He better make the weight. He better make the weight, Marcel. That's all I'm saying.
Because you got a tweet.
David Fisher's going to go after me or whatever again. Hear your thoughts, my friend.
Yeah, let's start with Nascimento. He is in the UFC. He was in the UFC already. Pretty much. Let's be honest. He's a good fighter, but he got signed because he's Charles Oliveira's teammate. He's Charles Oliveira's guy. Was in the Contender Series Brazil, and that one season they did, and he lost to Rolian Paiva in one of the best fights, I think, in Contender Series history. Then didn't fall for 3 years, I think. Then came back in July of last year, got a win in some gym event, and then got signed to the UFC. Debut against Tagir Ulanbekov. I think it was super close. It was a fight he could have won. It was a 29-28. Could have gone either way. Yep. He lost to Tagir, so making a second appearance now in the UFC, fighting Jake Hadley. Hadley, very talented guy from England. I think same team as Leon Edwards. He a former EFC champion, former Cage Warriors champion. Then went to the Contender Series, won against Mitch Raposo, submission second round, and then the fun part came. He didn't make weight, and normally if you in Contender Series and don't make weight, you are not eligible to win a contract. So Dana said the matchmakers advised him not to give him a contract, and that was actually more because he was rude to UFC employment or UFC staff and everything. So I don't know what happened there, but Dana said he found him special and he gave him a contract. I think he is a special talent. He's a very good talent from England. So I'm looking forward to what he has to offer, man. I think he wins. To be honest, I think he can win against Nascimento. Will they finish him? I don't know. I think Nascimento is super tough. I think he's a pretty decent fighter, but he will go 0-2. I think I'm taking Jake Hadley by decision. Yeah, so I pretty much agree with everything you said, to be honest with you. So with Nascimento, he's never been submitted. He's only lost by decision. He's a very tough guy.
I think you could have given him the fight with Taira because I think he worked really well off of his back. But that's the problem, though, right? Because he's very content to be on his back. He doesn't mind being on his back. We know that typically judges don't like that, especially against a guy like Hadley with good top control, with good submissions. I don't know if Hadley finishes him, Marcel, but I do think, he's the younger guy here, very, good prospect. I think he can get this guy down and kind of just grind it out. But, Nascimento's got a lot more experience, man. He has like 18 more fights, I want to say. 16 more fights. I mean, that's a big difference in experience. And I do think this is probably the toughest opponent Hadley had. The UFC's banking on him getting a big winner, I think. I mean, they're putting him in the first slot in the card. So it's a good opportunity for this guy. But I think he's getting a hard fight here against Nascimento. I think he's a very underrated guy. So, again, another tough fight, but I do think he's going to edge our decision, Marcel. That's my thoughts.
You see, also, it's also like promoted as Jake Hadley versus Allan Nascimento. The guy makes his debut is in the red corner, right? So you see.
By the way, I just looked at what Puro Ocho means. It means skin and bone. That's his nickname. So that's kind of cool.
It means Grim Reaper.
Oh, really? I'm looking at it. It's on translation on Google. I shouldn't have trusted it then. Grim Reaper. Okay, that's interesting. I like that nickname. It says skin and bone here. That's what I just saw. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Allan by Sod. I mean, he's got a possibility. I think the great value Nascimento. Yeah, I mean, he's got a chance. Would like to see Hadley lose. Bit of a dick. Didn't deserve the contract. Yeah, he was being rude to the staff. But again, the talent shown out, and Dana was like willing to put that past him. I want to say this. As much as we like to criticize Dana Marcel, I do think he's a very good evaluator of talent too. I will say that.
Sometimes.
Yeah, he can be. And I think, this guy's pretty talented, and I'm going to kind of trust what I saw. Despite the weight miss, I think the guy's talented. So I'll go with him to win a decision here. Against a very tough dude. All right. Let's go to the next fight here.
Let's go to the weirdness.
Frank Camacho against Manuel Torres. This is a pretty good fight here in the lightweight division. Marcel, minus 125 Manuel, plus 105 Frank Camacho. Frank hasn't fought in about 2 years. He had a car accident. He had COVID. Guy's just been, all sorts of different injuries and stuff like that. But he's finally back in the cage, Marcel. And I think it's a must-win fight for him. I still remember when he got knocked out by Justin James, who's no longer in the UFC. So he absolutely needs to win this fight. Manuel getting a tough veteran in his debut here from the Contender Series. So give me your thoughts on this fight, my friend.
Yeah, what I said, let's go to the weirdness on the main card. Frank Camacho definitely needs a win here. I think he won what second, two times. Yeah, Nick Hein was his best win, a stoppage win. But he's on fun fights. He had 3 Fight of the Nights back to back. He's a fun fighter to watch, and that's probably why he's still in the UFC. If you look at Manuel Torres, he had a good fight against Colton Englund in the Contender Series, got a win early. A loco, he fights a little bit loco as well, I think. I just don't trust Frank Camacho at all, dude. And I'm not even that high on Manuel Torres. He's from Antwerp Gym, right? I think he's decent. I don't think he's amazing, but I still think he would be able to get Frank Camacho out of there. So I'm taking Torres in the first round for a knockout.
Yeah, so these are the kind of fights that have been getting me in trouble lately, betting on these Contender Series guys and coming in at the veterans, right? It's been kind of getting me in trouble this year because I think they're all really talented, and they come in here and then they're fighting guys with a lot more experience. In this case, it's a pretty significant amount of experience difference here. You have 31 fights to 14. That being said, Marcel, there's no way I could pick Frank Camacho after that last fight. There's no way. Getting knocked out like that, getting blitzed by Justin James is just a bad look. And to be honest with you, I mean, the guy really hasn't had much success at all in the UFC. Marcel, he's a fun guy to watch, Marcel, but a lot of the time he's fun to watch is when he's getting beat up in fights. And
that's why he's still in the UFC, because he's
a fun guy. He's a fun, there's no doubt. And to be fair, let's be fair. Besides James, the other losses are the really good fighters. Let's be fair. Darius, Neil, Dober, Jing Liang. Those are like everyone's going to lose to those guys. Let's be honest for the most part, right? So I get that, but 2 years off, Marcel, all the injuries. This, and here's the other thing. It's crazy, right? Frank's a year younger than me. He's 32. I'm 33. I can't believe it. He's been fighting since 2005. Marcel? That's a long time. That's a long freaking time to be fighting. He's taking, and it's not like he fights like a wrestling style where he's on top. Marcel, he's getting beat up in his fights. He's been getting knocked out. There's no way I could pick him. And then let's talk about Torres here. So the fight on the Contender Series was that fight really. Herb Dean was the ref, and he should have stopped the fight or called a timeout for the eye poke because there was an eye poke, and he let it continue. The guy finished the guy after that. And the other dude really should have never stopped fighting. I mean, we just know that. That being said, man, I mean, I think this kid's pretty good. I watched a lot of his tape. There's not a ton available. There is a few fights, though. You know, good long striker, good ground game. I just think he's very talented. And again, a lot younger, 6 years younger here, a lot less wear and tear. I like him here, Marcel. And again, I just hope this another spot doesn't burn me, guys, with the Contender Series guy coming in against the veteran. But I think this is one of the veterans that is very beatable here in Frank Camacho. It's not like, you know, I don't know. I'm just trying to think, like, you know, there's been a lot of, you know, guys again coming in and losing in their debuts. I get it.
Fernie Garcia against Jordan.
Great example, you know. But I think like Journey, you know, is a guy that's a little bit more still in his prime, if anything. Like I just think Frank's past his prime. That's what I think, Marcel. So
me too.
Yeah, I can't pick Frank Camacho. I'm going to go with Manuel Torres. I think he knocks him out. What do you think?
Yeah, I have a second round finish for Manuel Torres.
Fight doesn't go. Hey, what's up, Grateful dude? Fight doesn't go the distance. I like it. I don't think this fight goes very long. Do you, Marcel?
No. See, second round is maybe even a little much.
Under 2.5 is not a bad bet either. I don't think. I think someone gets finished in this fight. I'm pretty sure Torres is going to finish him, guys. Pretty sure. It is strange placement, Glenn. I think they're promoting this kid. I think they like him. I think they like what they saw from this guy. But again, you know, it was a weird fight on the Contender. I just liked what I saw before the Contender. I thought he looked really good in his fights in Mexico. I did watch them. I think the James fight was a fluke too. I got to say that. But he still got beat up, Marcel. He still took a bunch of damage in that fight. And he's one of these guys, like in that fight, he didn't get dropped necessarily. He's just getting, you know, bong, bong, bong. Like he's a tough dude. I was watching one of his early fights. His first knockout loss, same thing happened. He was against the fence and just got barraged and they stopped the fight. He's got an iron head. There's no doubt about it. It's very hard to put this guy out, except for Jeff Neal when he kicked him in the head. It's hard to put him out. But I just think, again, all the fights, Marcel, and again, he's been fighting since 2005. That's a long time. That's a long time. He's been fighting since he was, 16 years old, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken. So, or something like that, 17 years old. So he's one of these guys that's been fighting since he was a teenager. I think the damage is caught up. I think it's a good spot to bet on Torres. So that's my pick here, Marcel. Manuel Torres by stoppage. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. We have Katlyn Chookagian against Amanda Ribas. This is Marcel's favorite fight on the card. Marcel, I know you're going to be really excited to watch this fight. No, I'm just kidding. Chookagian, minus 175, and Ribas plus 155, moving up to the flyweight division, I guess permanently. I mean, she's fought there before against Paige, but I know she's had a hard weight cut to make 115, obviously, Marcel. And what do you think about this fight? I mean, Chookagian's obviously won, pretty much beaten everyone except for like the elite. Do you think she gets the job done again?
Fuck's sake, I hope Ribas takes her down. You know, the thing is here, does the fight get to the ground or does the fight keep it standing, you know? I think Ribas has the tools to get her down, you know what I mean? Although it's at 125 and Chookagian might be having a size advantage, I think Ribas can get her down. And the thing is, if it doesn't happen, Chookagian might point her out again and gets a decision win like she always does. But Ribas has nothing to lose, dude. She fights against pretty much the number one contender in the division. And if she wins, she's in the mix for a title shot against Valentina if she wants. You know what I mean? So she has nothing to lose. Chookagian has everything to lose. And actually, if she loses, she might drop a few places. But hey, you know, whatever. And Chookagian knows even with a win, she probably doesn't get a new title fight. No. So she's in a bad spot, actually. She got the new contract because she fought out of her contract last time. I'm kind of 50-50. Like I said, dude, can't go. If it keeps standing, I say Chookagian. But with this one, I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going with Ribas. Decision win. Unanimous decision by being better on the ground and keeping her down.
There you go. Yeah, that's crazy. So far, we've got different picks of all the women's fights. And, you know, I've been looking at the women's fights pretty much all year in the last couple of years, guys. It seems like there's more upsets in the women's fights. You know, it seems like people have worse reading these women's fights for whatever reason. You know, it seems like the kind of fight Chookagian wins by decision, Marcel, for me. You know, she has a big height advantage here, 6 inches, guys. Somewhat of a big, not big reach, but 2 inches of reach. That helps too. And, you know, just historically, you know, she's just a fighter that wins by decision a lot. You know, I think she has the record for most decisions, right? Which is not really a record you want to have, but someone's got to have it, I guess.
At least it's a winning record, you know?
Yeah, she has a good record in the UFC. I'm checking what it is, 4, 6, 10, and 4. I mean, that's solid, you know? Ribas is solid too, though, you know? 5-1 in the UFC. And I'll say this, I think that Marcel, if you look at her last 2 fights, she got dropped by Marina and then dropped by Virna. And she survived that Virna fight and won. But I think that the chin was being compromised from that weight cut. I think she does cut a lot of weight to make 115. So she could look a lot better at 125. The one time we did see her against Paige was a complete blowout. Now, again, Paige Van Zandt's not a good MMA fighter at all. So it's hard to like take away a lot from that. But I think Ribas is decent. I think this fight's pretty competitive, honestly, Marcel. A little bit more than I initially thought after I looked into it because, again, Chookagian's takedown defense historically, guys, and it's a big sample size, 14 fights, 55%. So it's not great. It's really not great. I think Ribas could get her down and kind of grind on her a bit. But like you said, on the feet, Chookagian to me is like a much better striker. And we know how good her cardio is, Marcel. We know how strong she is in that third round, especially. Definitely wins the third round. First round, Ribas might win. Second round, it's just like the other fight I talked about with Virna. Yeah. It really is like Virna and Hill. I think I'm breaking it down really well here. It's like first round Ribas, I think she'll probably get her down, grind her a little bit, win the round. Second round's going to come down to that. I think Chookagian will probably win it, but could be a split decision, could be a coin toss. Like who knows? That's my thoughts. I'm seeing what you guys think about Katlyn. I kind of agree with you. Here's the thing: what options do you have? PFL doesn't have a division. Bellator has a division. She could have went to Bellator, but maybe they weren't interested. Maybe they're like, we're not too interested. Maybe the UFC was the only place she could go to, which, again, she's not going to get a title shot anytime soon. The fight with Valentina was a joke. She got destroyed in that fight. But I think she beats a lot of these girls too, Marcel. I think she's definitely a top 5 fighter in this division. There's no doubt about it. And we'll see if Ribas is. I mean, she could be. It's possible. Ribas is, younger, 5 years younger, and we know how good her grappling is. So I think it's a competitive fight. I'm going to leave Chookagian by decision. I think if you bet on her, why even lay minus 180 on her? Just take the decision. Like, she doesn't win by knockout or submission ever. She only wins by decision. That's plus 120. I'd rather just get plus money on her. There's no way she wins besides anything by decision. I'd be shocked. And I see Sign Collectibles likes that. That's what I think. Been surprised they've re-signed Chook. Not that she doesn't deserve it, but she's definitely on the list of Dan's least favorite fighters. I mean, listen, like, she's not one of my favorites either, Marcel. It's crazy. I don't really enjoy watching her fight. I'm not really an Angela Hill fan, and I still pick them both because at the end of the day, I got to look at fights objectively, and I think they have the skills to win these fights. So, could be wrong though, Marcel. I got to be honest. Like, of these 3 wins fights, kind of crazy when the opposite way in all of them. So, and I agree with this guy. I think they're all very competitive fights, guys. All 3 of these women's fights, they're very competitive. How many wins away from a title shot is Ribas? This one and probably we need one more, right? That's it, right?
I've been a few years ago was sometimes in a show with Gabe Killian and the brother of Adnan Shabasi and Leon.
Yeah.
And Leon always says, "I'm never parlaying or going on women's fights because they are way too close and there happens stuff that we do absolutely don't expect."
A lot more submissions too, I've noticed too, Marcel. A lot of fights end by submission in the women's fights. So I kind of agree with that. And someone said Misha Tate too. She's. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of her either, but she wins. She goes and beats Lauren Murphy. I would assume she gets a title shot because of her name, right, Marcel? Like, even though Valentina's going to absolutely smash her, she'll have to get another nose surgery if she gets 2 fights here, man.
You actually would love that fight, I think. Actually, now you think about it. I just don't like the comments you made about Aspen and her relationship. I agree. I thought it was fun.
None of anyone's business. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's go to the next fight, Marcel. This one's a very good fight. Davey Grant versus Louis Smolka. I love this fight, Marcel. I think it's a fun one. So Davey Grant's a big favorite here, Marcel. I don't know if you saw the odds, but he is one of the bigger favorites on the card. Davey Grant right now is a minus 300 favorite and plus 250 on Smolka. So Grant is one of the bigger favorites on the card. What are your thoughts on this one?
Davey Grant, man, 4 performance bonuses in the last 4 fights, but lost his last 2. Were fun fights against Marlon Vera, the rematch, and against Adrian Yanez. I think he indeed both lost the fights, but he got a fight in the night there. It was a competitive fight. If you look at Louis Smolka, he got knocked out by Vince Morales in his last fight. I think both guys were actually friends and they didn't like to fight each other. But the UFC made that fight, so they had to go with it, right? Before that, he won against Jose Quinones. I always say Quinones was probably the guy with the best record, but at least what's the least great guy with the best possible record at bantamweight? You know what I mean? So I was never big on Jose Quinones. I remember he got 2 points deducted in the Ultimate Fighter finale by headbutting his opponent to the chest. Man, I think Davey Grant is kind of underrated. He always makes it a tough fight, and Louis Smolka is hit or miss all the time. I'm taking Grant here. I think he will win, and I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes him, dude. I mean, Grant is nasty. I'm going with maybe with a TKO win in the second round for David Grant.
I mean, he's one of my most confident picks in this card. I definitely picking Grant in this fight. And I think he knocks Lewis Smolka out. He's fallen in love with his striking, and his striking is good too. The guy, Marcel, he's turned into one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. I love watching this dude fight. He just loves to scrap. And, the last two fights, listen, they didn't go his way. But, again, the Yanaz fight was very close. Yeah. And the Vera fight was very competitive too. I mean, and the third round was bad for him. But before that, very competitive. Before that, beats Jonathan Martinez is a huge underdog. The Martin Day fight was nice too. Listen, he gets dropped, but he gets back up. He knocks these guys out. I just don't think Smolka's got anything for him that he hasn't seen before. Smolka, very inconsistent. Win-loss, gets finished a lot lately. He does have some good wins on Marcel. I will say that. Like the Sumadarji win looks really nice now in hindsight, right? The submission win there.
It was a bantamweight, right?
Yeah, it was a different weight class too.
For Sumadarji.
Yeah, for sure. I picked against Smolka against Vince Morales last year and knocked him out. Why would I pick Davey Grant not to beat him? You know what I mean? Of course I'm picking Davey Grant. I think he knocks him out, guys. I think Grant finishes him. So Davey Grant by knockout, that's what's the odds on that? Inside the distance is even money. That's the way I'd go. I don't think, like, again, minus 300 is not a terrible, I don't really necessarily do parlays, but if you do, I think he's the guy to look at for sure. I think he finishes him, Marcel. I would take the plus 100 on the finish. So Grant by knockout would be safe. Fight goes under 2.5 rounds. Yeah, Smolka could submit him if it goes to the ground because Grant's been submitted a few times, Marcel. That's where it gets interesting, right? Because like Damian Stasiak, Manny Bermudez, these guys aren't that good, and they finish them by sub. So if it goes to the ground, it's possible. But I just think this version of Grant's just a much better version than he was in the past, Marcel. Like, very impressed by this guy. Like, he's one of these older fighters that's getting better, I think, Marcel. He's 36 now, but I think he's actually getting better. I don't know if you agree with me, but it seems like he's getting better, right?
Yeah, I agree, actually.
So Grant by knockout. I think that's my pick in this one, guys. All right, let's go to the co-main event here. We have Ion Cutelaba against Ryan Spann. Another really good fight here. I mean, someone's getting knocked out. I'd be surprised if this fight goes the full 3 rounds. But right now we have Ion. He is the favorite in this fight, Marcel, at minus 220 and Ryan Spann plus 180. So what do you think? Ion wins, or do you think there's a guy in the underdog here?
I'm actually surprised Ion is such a big favorite to me, minus 210, because I think it's a coin flip. I think Ion did good in his last fight, actually. He was more composed, and he did better. Normally, he has only gas for only 1 round. And now he did a little bit better. Spann is also, it's kind of hit or miss, dude. Sometimes I think he fights really well. And against Walker, he got screwed, I think, with the back to the head shots that should have been penalized by the referee, but he actually stopped the fight. Yeah, it's difficult, man. The thing is, I feel like Ion will probably come out guns blazing, and if he touches Spann's going out, I think. So I'm having Ion Cutelaba first round knockout in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Cutelaba as well, and I think he knocks him out too. I just don't trust Ryan Spann right now. I think he's very beatable at this point. The Anthony Smith fight, just not good performance at all. And Ion, he's just really improved his wrestling. I think this guy could take him down and ground and pound him. That's what I kind of think happens, Marcel. So I don't want to make this one too long. I like Ion Cutelaba in this fight. I get it. There's some people are going to probably go with it. Pardon? What do you say?
I'm surprised we both going.
Yeah. I mean, I think people will take Spann. There'll be some comeback action on him because he is almost 2-1 as an underdog. The guy's got huge power and everything. He's a huge guy for this division. But I just think Ion, he's really fighting well right now. He's fighting smart. And that Devin Clark fight, that win looks really good right now after what Devin just did to Willie Knight. I think a heavyweight, right? He took him down 8 times.
Isn't it crazy that all 4 guys in the co-main and main event fought Devin Clark?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
I know. He's like the gatekeeper to like a fight night, main event, co-main event. Anyways, Ion Cutelaba by knockout. That's my pick. Let's go to the last fight here, Marcel. The last one on the card. We get the main event here. Jan Blachowicz against Aleksandar Rakic. And the odds for this one, Alexander Rakic, excuse me. He is the favorite here, minus 190. Blachowicz plus 165. Blachowicz is underdog again, Marcel. We've seen that many times throughout his career. So give me your thoughts on this fight, my friend. The main event of UFC Vegas 54.
Oh, man, people are going to be pissed off for my pick for this one. So you already know who I'm going to pick. Sorry?
You're picking Jan?
No. I think Jan is a great fighter, but I feel like Aleksandar is going to keep it boring again. That's what I think. I think he's going to take him down. And I know Jan is not a slouch on the ground, but I think he's going to take him down. And he's going to make it boring. I think he's going to try to gas it to make him gas. and to maybe finish it later. But I'm going with a decision win for Rakic. I don't think he finishes him, but I expect a very boring, not one-sided, but a boring main event where Rakic wins via advancing via his wrestling.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have the same pick. Rakic by decision. Actually, the odds on that one, guys, I was looking at today, plus 250. It was plus 250. I looked at. Now it's plus 210. There's value on that. I think. I think this fight goes the distance. Just the way they match up. Again, actually, the fight going the distance is plus 110. Either guy winning. That's not a bad bet. I don't think. Jan is also a guy that can go the distance with his opponents. Both great fighters, man. I love both these guys. Well, except for Rakic's last 2 fights, they've been really bad to watch. But I'm a big fan of the guy still. I think he's a good fighter, and I think he's got a lot of advantages here because of the youth. Marcel, he's 9 years younger. He's actually bigger than Jan. He's a huge light heavyweight, more in his prime. Jan's a great fighter. I love him. I've made a lot of money on him betting against Adesanya. Jacare, Luke Rockhold. Like I made some good money on this guy as an underdog, right? But I don't necessarily like this fight. The last time we saw him, he got washed. I mean, Glover, obviously different matchup, but maybe that shows that he's on the decline. I think I'd pick Rakic against almost everyone in this division, to be honest with you. So it's not really a knock on Jan, more that I think that Rakic is just a good fighter. He's good at winning these decisions, Marcel. He really is.
He has a very high fight IQ for a guy who is only like probably not even in his prime yet. And
I want to get this comment too by Glenn. He said that he's never been in the fourth.
That was my only concern.
Me too.
We never saw him in five.
Me too, but he never really tired out in his fights. He looks strong in the third rounds, and again, he's done a good job of conserving the energy. So
Adam,
yeah.
Do you think that he is going to fight more cautious and more sure after he lost that split decision over Volkan Ozdemir in South Korea?
I thought he even won that fight.
I think so too. And I think he thinks that as well. So he's like, fuck it, I'm going to go more safe and make sure I win these rounds. You know what I mean?
I think for him, he can fight safe in this fight because I think if he wins, he gets the next title shot, right? He's going to fight the winner of Yuri and Glover, I would assume, right?
He should.
He doesn't need to fight stupid. He can just do what he did to Santos. And the fight sucked. And the Smith fight was also pretty bad, but he just did what he needed to do to win. I will say this: the line opened lower; it opened at minus 150. It's getting almost to minus 200 now, and it's a certain point. It's just not worth betting on him. But I still have to pick this guy. I think he gets the job done. And Nate Logan's thing is going to be a low volume fight. Could be. I think I could see that too, Marcel. To be honest with you, Jan could win by knockout. Possibly. I mean, he's obviously got power. Jan's a great fighter. I don't want to underrate Jan. That's the thing. I don't want to write him off yet, just because of the loss to Glover.
I don't think we do. We just give assessment as we think as the fight goes. It's not like a hit on Jan if we go with Rakic, but we think it favors Rakic just in this fight how it will probably go. So we're going with Rakic. Doesn't mean that Jan doesn't have a chance. You know what I mean? So,
right. And I want to Yuri Rakic fire. I would love my boy James Lynch again. I mean, my guy. By the way, I'm doing the party shot tomorrow. I'm going to plug that with James Lynch, 5 p.m. Eastern. I know you love that podcast. It's on James Lynch's Patreon. He interviewed both guys. I watched both the interviews. He had long interviews with both of them. Jan was great. Jan had his son there. He's holding it during the interview. It was awesome. Jan saying all the right things. He made no excuses for the loss to Glover. Just bad night, and thinks he could win this fight. Rakic, I really like the Rakic interview, guys. You can watch that. Man, I like this guy's fight IQ. I like everything he said. Like he's just he gets the game really well, guys. So it's not the most exciting, but he knows what to do to win, I think. And he mentioned, because someone said Yuri Rakic, he mentioned if he wins, he wants to fight, and Yuri wins, he wants to fight him in Europe. That's where he wants to do the fight, a championship fight for the 205 belt in Europe. So I don't know what you think about that, Marcel. Boreham saying he thinks Rakic will gas. The Volkan fight was, 3 years ago? I mean, I don't know how much we can bank on that. I mean, the guy's really training hard since then. Maybe. I mean, definitely, I wouldn't put it past him because we haven't seen it. And I think you guys are bringing up a good point, but I like Rakic, man. Even despite the last 2 fights, Marcel, where I am a little bit down on those performances, he still got the job done and took no damage at all. Think about Santos. Even against Ankalaev, he dropped him in that fight, Marcel. He didn't get dropped in that fight. He barely got hurt in that fight. And Smith, that fight wasn't even competitive. Those are good wins, guys. They're solid wins. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's definitely an interesting fight. I wouldn't be completely surprised at all if Jan win, but I do think Rakic is a clear favorite to win this fight. So that's my thoughts. And Glenn likes Blachowicz. Hey, we'll see what happens. And next Monday, Glenn, we could be wrong, and we'll be the first to admit it. Sorry, what was this? I think Jamal Hill will make Ankalaev Rakic look bad. Possibly. Because if he knocks Dos Santos, I mean, that could give Jamal Hill that bump.
Jamal Hill is a completely different
fighter.
He has a completely different mind than these guys.
Right.
You know, I think Rakic and Ankalaev thinking about being the champion already, and Jamal Hill.
They don't mind going 5 rounds. These guys,
Exactly,
I don't think.
and Jamal wants to get out as soon as possible.
I should say the distance because again, he hasn't been full 5, but I do think he can do it. So we'll see what happens. All right. I think that's it for this preview, Marcel, for UFC Vegas 54. We're going to go to Bellator now really quickly. I see some comments about Bellator in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marcel, we'll talk a little bit about this card just for a few minutes here. Bellator 281. Pull up the odds here. We'll just talk about a few of the interesting fights. I want to go to the main event. So, Logan Storley opened at -150, and now he's -350. So, the line's really shifted in his favor, and Page is +260 underdog. What do you think, man? The odds are really high for Storley. What do you think?
I think Storley takes him down and dominates. That's what I think. You know, I think I don't see. Yeah, or MVP has to knock him out somehow. You know, but man, I'm going with Storley here, and we probably will see the rematch against Maximov soon. It's only the only fight that Storley lost, and it was super close. It was a 29-28 split decision.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going with Storley here. I actually don't have anything much to say about the fight. I think he dominates with his wrestling.
I'm not a fan of Michael Page. I mean, you guys know that. I think the guy's been given like the easiest road ever. Like he was 10 years in his Bellator career still fighting guys like David Rickles. Like it makes no sense. You know what I mean? Like
he didn't win that last fight, in my opinion. Also,
yeah, I don't think he beat Douglas Lima. That was a bad decision. Douglas Lima's been his kryptonite. You know, I think he's decent though. I do think that the line's getting a little bit out of hand, guys. Honestly, because on the feet, I mean, there's no doubt he has the advantage, right? But Storley's such a good wrestler, man. I think he just takes him down and grinds him out like you do, Marcel. I don't like the odds. -350 is way too high. I wouldn't bet on that. If anything, I do think there could be some value in Michael Page, but I'm not betting on him because, again, I don't really like the guys. I just don't think he's that good outside of the striking. I think his grappling can be exploited, and this is a hard fight, you know. But again, got to look at the odds too, and I think the odds are a little heavy for this guy. So, got to go for Storley, but it's not like some. I wouldn't parlay him. Right? I wouldn't parlay Storley personally. Let's go to the next fight. Fabian Edwards -155 against Machida +125, and Machida actually opened as a small favorite here. The line flipped kind of. What do you think about this one, Marcel?
It's a difficult one, man, because I think the funny thing is Fabian Edwards is really good on the mic, and he has pretty good striking, and his brother is actually very bad on the mic, in my opinion. He's pretty a good all-around fighter and pretty good on the ground, actually. Yeah. So, Machida, it depends, man, with Machida. Where is he right now? Is he still on? He's a little bit older. He's always difficult to hit, you know. But listen, dude, if Edwards wants to make a run in this division, he needs to pick up now and he needs to get a win. So, and what a perfect way to start against a legend like Machida, right? But I'm not sure on this fight. I had it earlier today. We did Bellator preview somewhere else, and I said it as well. I'm not sure about this fight. So, right. I'm also not going to give you my pick because I have no confidence in picking one of the two right now.
It's a hard fight to call too. I agree. I mean, listen, Machida is not the same Machida, obviously, but you know, I think this is probably one of Fabian Edwards' harder fights. Yeah. At the same time, though, Marcel, it's a pretty significant age advantage here. I think he's like 14 years younger. Like I can't ignore that either, you know. So yeah, I mean, he's looked pretty bad lately, but he's been fighting pretty good fighters too. I think it'll be competitive, leaning Edwards slightly due to that youth factor, Marcel. But Machida could win this fight. I definitely think it's possible. And if I go with distance, I think so. I think it goes to 3 rounds. Machida by split, very possible as well. Yeah, so I don't know, Marcel. It's a close one. Just a couple other fights quickly we'll talk about. Your girl, Denise Kielholtz, -260 is Canada Watanabe +200. The odds makers opened Watanabe as a -140 favorite. If anyone got Kielholtz at +120, that was a great bet. She should have been favored from the get-go, and now she's a big favorite. I think she wins. I'll just say it right now. Because, honestly, Marcel, I think she should have won the other fight for the belt, right? So, you're picking obviously, too.
Yeah, I think so, too. I had a 48-47 against Velasquez. But, you know, it was a fight that could have gone either way, so I wasn't really upset about it. Right. Yeah, she didn't got the rematch. She got Watanabe. The thing is, people think as Denise only as a striker, but she has a background in judo as well. Right. And we saw that in some of her fights. She knows she has to win this one. Actually, she got a better chance fighting for a belt right now because Ilima-Lei McFarlane lost to Justine Kish. But we probably see the rematch between Velasquez Carmouche pretty much soon, so she probably doesn't get a fight for the belt if she wins this one. But we'll see. If she wins this one, maybe she did match her up with Justine Kish. But we'll see. Will be a good fight, but I think he will probably also gets finished.
Just really quick on a few other fights. We'll get out of here in a second, guys. Paul Daly's a minus 325 favorite against his Wendell Giacomo guy. I think it's his retirement fight. I expect Paul Daly to win that fight. I think he'll win. Luke Trainer's a big favorite. He should win his fight. By the way, if you look at best fight odds, Daniel Weichel's apparently fighting Robert Whitaker. Yeah. That's what it says on best fight odds, Marcel. He's fighting Robert Whiteford. I think Weichel wins that fight. And there's a couple other fighters that, Charlie Ward,
biggest favorite on the card.
Yeah, he's minus 515. Lanchana Green was on the Ultimate Fighter years ago. I know her. So, I mean, listen, a lot of English fighters, obviously. Glenn, are you going to the card? Maybe you're going. I don't know. If you have some British listeners here, maybe they're going. I think it'd be an interesting card. I like the Bellator Europe cards, man. I think they do a good job in Europe. The fans seem to really get into it. I'm just going to get this last comment here, guys, from Glenn. He's asking about the 125 interim belt. I guess Figueiredo's finger is just really bad shape right now because I can't really see why else they would have did that fight. They could have just waited. Kind of weird. What do you say?
People come give me comments like, dude, why you haven't posted it yet? It's not signed, guys, yet. That's why I haven't posted it. But it's probably going to happen. And it's a rematch, right, between Moreno and Cara France.
I was at the first fight, Marcel, and it was very close fight, but Moreno won. It was on the Covington Houston card. Yep. Yeah. Anyways, that's it for today's podcast, guys. Really appreciate everyone joining in. We had a lot of listeners today. It's awesome, man. A lot of fun. Marcel, plug yourself. Let's get out here.
Big Marcel 24, Twitter, Instagram, MMA section on the Eurosport.nl website.
Follow me on Twitter, guys, at @AdamMartin. I'm always there to talk about MMA. MMAOddsbreaker.com is our home. The podcast is on YouTube. It's on iTunes, Spotify. But appreciate all the YouTube watches. I mean, we'd rather have you guys here joining the chat or watching post show. If you are watching post, appreciate it. Also on my bookies.com, got my best bets coming out tomorrow for this card. And then mymmanews.com for some news. Back Monday with Marcel at 5 p.m. Eastern to recap this card, UFC Vegas 54. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.
One more thing.
Yep, last thing.
One more thing. My colleague Dennis, he has interviews with Jan Blachowicz and with Aleksandar Rakic, and they will be tomorrow online, I think. So
awesome. Plug that stuff. And hey, I appreciate all the comments, guys. Tristan, Odd Smoker, Rudy, what's up, guys? Appreciate it, man. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Me and Marcel obviously love talking about MMA with you guys, so we love it. We'll have a great weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.